All right, it's time for another edition of the High School Blitz. I'm Danny Davis. This is Rick Cantu. Rick, there's a couple games on Thursday, but we're going to skip right ahead to Friday night. Stony Point and Cedar Ridge over at the Kelly Reeves Athletic Center. You have been driving the Cedar Ridge bandwagon for a long time. This is the first chance you get to either pick against them or pick for them. What are you going to do?
Well, I think they're going to be a Corvette before this season's over. The way I'm driving that bandwagon, I'm taking Cedar Ridge just because they've got a really good defense. It's probably the biggest reason they're 4-0. They've only given up 12 points a game in four games. Stony Point, they had a good offensive output last week against Round Rock, 474 total yards. But when you get good offense, good defense, I'm going to take defense most of the time.
I'm going to go with Stony Point. They did lose by 10 to Round Rock. I don't think they played terrible against Round Rock. I thought they were right with them. Their offense is doing pretty well. Shapiro King averaging 5.5 yards per carry. Tanner Aschenbacher, the quarterback, had 3 touchdowns this past week. They can't turn the ball over as much as they did against Round Rock. 6 turnovers. A team like Cedar Ridge is going to make you pay if you turn over the ball that many times. But they control the turnovers, continue to produce on offense. I think they're going to squeeze by Cedar Ridge. But that is a good Raider team over there. Leander and Vandergrift. Leander last week knocked off Georgetown, a pretty good Georgetown team that had received some votes in the state polls. Can they do it again? Can they knock off another giant in Vandergrift?
Well, they can, but they won't. I say they can because we don't know what Leander's going to give us. We do know what Vandergrift is going to give us, and that's a lot of offense. I was very impressed. I saw them play this weekend against Eastview. Alex Fernandez, a quarterback that I didn't know anything about before the season started, he's already got 17 touchdown passes, only 2 intercepted. And when you consider that their big dog is Travis Brandon, the running back, they've got an amazing 1-2 offensive combination. I just can't see them losing this game.
I also like Vandergrift in this game. I actually like the way they've been playing defense over the last couple weeks. 36 points allowed against Clean and Eastview. That was a big question mark coming into the season, was how the Vipers were going to play on defense. This Leander attack, led by quarterback Parker McNeil, is pretty balanced. Not anyone that's a huge standout. A lot of people contribute, whether it's Michael Berry, their tight end, Matthew Long, a running back who also plays on defense, Gabriel Sanchez, a wide receiver who had a huge game a couple weeks ago against Rouse. I just don't think that's enough to keep up with this Vandergrift team. Before the season, I picked Vandergrift to win state, and I think that so I'm not going to pick against them now. Let's go to Bowie and Austin High, probably our game of the week over at House Park. Bowie has Westlake next week, but this Austin High team has always played them pretty close. Last year was a 5-point game. Austin High looked pretty respectable last week against Westlake, at least for the first half before Westlake finally pulled away. What do you think happens here?
I think Bowie is stronger than Austin High on both sides of the offensive and defensive lines. I think they're tougher because they need to be tougher because they haven't got the game breakers outside of Josh Wainwright, who I think is a fabulous wide receiver, by the way. I just think that when you hold a team, any team, this one was against Anderson, held Anderson to 27 yards rushing. And when you can do that to any team, that shows you've got toughness. I'm going to take Bowie in a close game.
I like what Bowie's been doing with their offense since Wade Smith, their quarterback, got hurt. As you mentioned Josh Wainwright, but Dalen Threadgill has been a nice find for Jeff Abels. 100 yards in each of their last 2 games rushing. Defensively, 3 of their 4 opponents have held to 14 points or less. Austin High might be the most talented offense they see, but I think they're going to be undefeated for that Westlake matchup next week. All right, finally, we're going to pick Gerald versus Thorndale. It's a small school matchup in Gerald, non-district showdown. Both these teams, traditionally over the last couple of years have been pretty solid. What do you think is going to happen in this one?
Well, I've been disappointed in Thorndale after they opened up the season with a big win. They've lost their last 3, and they've only scored a total of 21 points in doing so. So with that in mind, I like Tony Brown, quarterback for Gerald, averaging 184 yards a game just rushing. Most dynamic player on the field that night will be Brown, and I see Gerald winning.
And Brown, one of these days, is going to be playing on Saturday, whether it's on the defense or at the quarterback position. But I'm going to go with Thorndale. Thorndale has been, their slow start could be attributed to the fact that they've been running a spread offense for the last 4 years. A new coach has them running the slot T, and I just think they are going to try to keep the ball away from Tony Brown, and that means just run the ball. Hunter Towery, Chase Kiesling, or Brady Bonner are kind of their 3 main options there, and they just need to feed those 3 the football and keep it away from Gerald because Tony Brown is dynamic option, and if he gets too many chances, the Bulldogs are going to be in for a long night. But I picked the Bulldogs. I picked them to snap that 3-game losing streak, and we'll see. Those are our picks for the week. Be sure to check back with us over the weekend to see how we did, and we'll see you next week.